Okay, welcome everybody to episode 18 of our masterclass series. Today we are going to be chatting through the 3-5-2 formation. It's a formation close to my heart. I love the 3-5-2. I think it's a really offensive and valuable formation. I think it can be often portrayed as a very defensive formation, but certainly in the way that I like to set up, it can be extremely aggressive and extremely beneficial. Before we get into this, because we are going to talk about the 3-5-2 today, I think it's important to just give context on formations. So formations should be based on the profile of player that you've got. I think we can tend to lean towards a certain formation because we've seen a certain team play it, or we've seen it look good on TV, or we think it's a fashionable formation, aka the 3-4-3 that we see Amorim playing at Man United at the moment. But it should be wholly based on the players that you've got available to you, the profile of those players based on the positions that you want them to play in, and the strengths and weaknesses of your team as well. So really think about that as you pick a formation. And formations as well, they tend to only look like they do when you start a game and you kick off a game. There will be moments in a game where I'm playing a 3-5-2, where I'll have a back four, where I'll have a back five, where you'll be in very, very different structural positions, and you're trying to occupy space rather than be in a set structural formation. So I think, for example, if you start a game in a 4-4-2 when you kick off, you might be a 4-2-4 when you're in possession, and you might be a 4-5-1 when you're defending. So that fluidity of where do I want my players to occupy at certain moments of the game is a really important thing to think about. So that's what we're going to get in today. The 3-5-2 is, and by the way, ask any questions that you have during the call, and I'll get them answered during the call. So the 3-5-2, in terms of its structure, we've obviously got 3 centre-backs across the back line. We have 5 in midfield, including 2 wing-backs. And again, when I talk about profile of player, these 2 players, left wing-back and right wing-back, are extremely important because we need them to get forward. And as you'll see in how I set up, how they get forward is extremely important. And then they're going to need to come back and do the work to help their back 3 as well. You might structure your midfield as 2 pivots, as I do. So 2 sixers. That gives us that 3-2 in build with 1 attacking midfielder. Or some teams have a... Oh, 1 second. I hate it when it does that. Some teams have 1 pivot and then 2 8s that play in a structure more like that. But I don't like that, how it gives us the build structure. So I tend to play with 2 pivots. But again, that's on personal preference and the players that you've got available to you. And then you've got 2 strikers, obviously, which gives you a really, really robust spine of this team. And if we look at how strong we are in the central area there, we are so strong down the middle, down the spine of the team, that makes us incredibly difficult to break down. And in terms of where we're sending an opposition to play through us is going to be really, really difficult. They're probably going to have to play around us, and their opportunity to get around us is probably more viable, given that our wing-backs might get caught out of possession. So with 3 central defenders, 3 central midfielders and 2 strikers, given that the goal is central, that gives us a really solid base to defend and a really solid structure. So that's the 3-5-2 in terms of how it's made up. Brief history of the 3-5-2. So it originated in the 80s, or certainly came to prominence in the 80s under Beckenbauer with Germany. And I think Argentina certainly used the 3-5-2 quite a bit. It was probably more of a defensive structure back in the 80s. And there's more fluid systems now in modern systems with modern coaches. Tends to be more of a 3-2-5 in possession. And that's what we'll look at, and certainly how I'd look to build out as well when we've got the ball. I think it's seen a bit of a resurgence over the last few years, and modern coaches really like it because it creates lots of central overloads, as we can see, right? So we're probably going to be playing against 1 striker as a back 3. Might create some issues out wide with 2 wingers if the opposition are playing a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. But we're overloaded in the central position. We're either going to be man for man or 3 versus 2 in the central area, unless the opposition have got a box. But we can also create a box or an overload by our 10 coming and helping here. Maybe it turns into a bit of a diamond with one of our strikers helping out there, and we're creating an overload with 4 in there if we want to. That's if the opposition are going like that in there. Or we could create a bit of a box with our 2 pivots. And then our 8 shifts to one side, and then our 10 drops in, and we create a slight box there as well. So we've got the options to overload midfielders however we want to overload. And then when we do get the ball in advanced positions, we have 2 strikers, which is always my preference. Next thing I want to go into is why we use a back 3 against a back 4, and what the benefits and pros and cons of using a back 3 versus a back 4 are. So a back 4, you would obviously get a lot more width, and you'd be able to defend more of the pitch. Okay, so we talk a lot about you can't defend all of the pitch at the same time. So we have to pick and choose how much of the pitch we defend. And a back 4 allows you to have more width when we're doing that. So we might set up in a situation like this, and we're choosing to defend this area so teams can't play through us. They're probably not going to play over us, but they choose to play around us, okay? But with a back 4, that gives us slightly more width to do that. With a back 3, you could argue that we could come into a 5 and we could defend a lot more of the pitch. But I have, and this is my preference in terms of the formation, I have a bit of an allergic reaction to defending as a back 5, because I think it creates a really negative mindset and a negative view for the players in terms of how they set up and how we invite pressure onto us. So I would probably go into a back 4 when I'm defending, or have 4 players covering. But the back 4 in a traditional back 4 system gives you that more naturally, and you don't have to adapt as much. What a back 4 system does give you is more width in attack when you have got the ball. So you're going to have wingers and you're going to have fullbacks, and you're going to have the relational play between the fullback and the winger to create natural overloads out wide in these areas, 2v1s, 3v2s with a midfielder that gets in the half space here and creates a triangle to play around players as well. So it gives you width in that sense. And players are probably more comfortable in a back 4, let's be real, because it's the formations that they've grown up in, the formation that they've played in all the way through their youth football, probably. So most players are probably going to be more comfortable with the roles and responsibilities that a back 4 gives them. In terms of a back 3, and why I think a back 3 and a 3-5-2 is really beneficial in argument against that. And again, it depends with the opposition that you've got, and it depends with the profile of player that you've got as well. The back 3 can give you the natural width in possession, so you can circulate possession across a back 3 just like you can a back 4, and that gives you more players to push into offensive areas up the pitch. So I love a back 3 in terms of support and ball circulation. We're centrally overpowered, so we've got lots and lots of players in central areas to help with the build-up. And as you can see through the lines that I've drawn between the players, you've got lots of diamonds and triangles to be able to play through and build up as well. So we've got that natural 3-2 build-up play, and that allows us to push our wing-backs nice and high and give us lots of forward passing options as well. So lots of options in possession with a back 3. We're very compact centrally, out of possession. So like we've spoken about earlier, if I look at the space that I've highlighted here, we can quite quickly, depending on where the ball is, and I'm not working to a ball position here, but we're very, very compact in the central areas and very, very tough to play through. So knowing when to press as a fullback if we are set deep in a 5 can be really difficult at times. So there's different solutions that we'll talk to with that later on in the call. So that's back 3 versus a back 4, and the pros and cons for each. Both will have their moments, and both will have their time during the season. I tend to work to 3 formations: a 3-5-2, a 4-4-2, and a 4-2-3-1, depending on the players I've got available on that day, and depending on what the opposition's given me and what we're having to play towards. And I might change formation during games as well, depending on how the game's going or of what the opposition are giving us. So there's no right or wrong answers. There's only right solutions based on what you can see with your players and what the opposition are giving you. Next, we're going to look at in possession and how I like to build and how I like to play when we've got the ball. It's really important to me that our back three support and circulate the ball. I've played in back threes and obviously managed back threes, and this is a really comfortable position to be in as a back three when you've got the ball, because you can dominate all the key areas of the pitch. You don't want to be too wide, because in transition, if you do lose the ball, then that's going to be really tough for you. But dominate the half space. So we can circulate the ball out with no problems, because we can cover the full width of the pitch in the half space areas to be able to support play and then tilt an opposition and then switch. So we've got those options through the back line. We've got a really nice structure in the 3-2, which a lot of teams use now, because we've got two pivot players. That creates nice triangles here, and we've got diamonds here as well. So we've got a diamond here, got a diamond here, and then we've got a triangle within all of that. So we've got some fantastic passing options. And during this 3-2 build, my instructions to my wing backs are to get aggressively high. And what that does is that pins a back four in. So we want our wing backs to be high. And I've said previously, I've played in a back three as a 3, and I've also played in a back 4 when wing backs are being really, really aggressive and really high. And that gives you really tough options to get out. So that pins the opposition in, and then that gives us lots of options to play forward as well. So if we are building in the 3-2, as you can see, we've got options all across the back line of the opposition to be able to get that ball into those forward players. So when those opportunities arise to be able to play forwards into one of these front players, and these positions are going to be fluid and we're going to be rotating out, but then we're looking for the third man runs, because that's going to come into support, and we're probably looking for a run in behind there from the third man player, or potentially from this attacking midfielder to get into those areas as well. So that structure, the 3-2, gives us a really solid base to build, because we've got nice triangles and diamonds and passing angles to play. And then what we've done with the wing backs, we've been really aggressive to pin the opposition back. And I'm really, really firm on that. I don't want my wing backs coming to receive deep. I think that invites pressure. One of my core principles is that we look to play forwards at all times, and we look to play forwards as much as possible. So I want my wing backs to be nice and high and overload the opposition at the top end of the pitch where it matters. And once we can play those forward balls into the wing backs, that's when we look for third man runs to get past them and get into the space beyond the back line and push them deep, make the opposition defend depth and get some forward runners in behind. Because again, even if they don't get the ball, that might pull this player with them, and then that offers up space into here. If that's been popped into their pop back, and then we can play into this area, all of a sudden this player's been attracted, this player might have been attracted across, and then we've got an overload at the back post. So that movement from deep to then push beyond the back line, because we've played a forward pass into our wing backs or one of the strikers, a third man run past them into the deeper areas to push that back line back. They've got to respond to that, and that's going to create opportunities elsewhere or overloads elsewhere for us to play into. So that's why I'm really, really aggressive with my wing backs, in that I don't want them receiving square or deep passes. I want them receiving forward passes and to be nice and high. And that's why a lot of my training plans and coaching plans are, if it's a 4v4+2 with 2 neutrals as wide players, the conditions on them could be that you're not coming to receive in your own half. I want you to receive when you're in possession nice and high, just to get them into that structure and that mentality of, once you have got possession, you have to get higher up the field. And our back three are really important in the circulation of the ball to allow our players to push forward. Because what happens when we do win the ball, we might be deep at this point because these wing backs have been defending, and that's reality. And it's tough on these wing backs to be able to get forward and back and forward. So sometimes, in terms of how I play and how I want our teams to play, there might be a little bit of ball circulation that needs to happen and ball retention to allow time for these wing backs to get higher up the pitch. and allow time for us to get into this aggressive shape where we've overloaded the opposition in their back line, and then we can look to play and get through them. So a lot of my build-up play is based on allowing my wing backs to get high, and then as soon as we have got that overload at the top end of the pitch, I want to play into them as quickly as possible. And if we're not playing a support pass and then looking for runners, if we've got the opportunity to get at players 1v1, then we absolutely need to do that, because if we have pinned them in man for man, we only need to, if I draw this out a little bit more, so we've got the back four here. So when we have got man for man at the back, so we want to bring you back here. Yeah, so we've got a back four. We've got our two wing backs, our two strikers that have pinned the opposition back in. A man for man situation is perfect here. So if we play into this wing back, what you've got to remember for 1v1s is that the defender has to win that situation every single time. We've just got to win once. Okay, that wing back has just got to win once. If we get past there, and we push into, say we push a little bit further. So we've beaten that player 1v1. They're out of the game now. So as a defensive unit, what needs to happen? This player needs to come across. They need to come in as cover and balance. And that's now created an overload at the back post because we've beaten one player man for man. And that should give us the overload here. So this player automatically knows, once I've beaten this player 1v1, the overload's here. So I'm going to try and commit this player, push this player back as deep as possible. They're going to come round, and it might be a dink to the back post or one pass into here that then comes here, and then we've got an opportunity at the back post. But they're the little micro detail that we need our players to understand. So in coaching points to a wing back, in this system that I play, if you do get your players 1v1 and we recognise we've got the back line man for man, get at your player. I don't care if you lose the ball 3 out of 4 times, 9 out of 10 times. If you beat them once, I know then that opposition back line has got to move across, creates an overload at the back post for us. You know as an individual then that you've got to try and push that back line as deep as possible and then look to cut the ball back to that back post area where the overload is going to be. And we should have a goal or a goal scoring opportunity. So that's the micro detail that goes into the in-possession play. Also in our build-up play with the centre-backs, when we do circulate and we've tilted the opposition this way, so we've tilted the opposition back this way. Let me just make this a bit more realistic. I know this is a bit messy now, apologies. Here we go. That's our wing back here. So what happens when we play the ball to this side? We might pause here to pull the opposition compact block across to us. We're doing that on purpose because we want to play this way. So then we release the ball quickly and we come here. And Kevin talked about on our build-up play call the other day about driving with the ball, not always passing the ball. And what's really important to me here is when this wide centre-back receives the ball here, is that they drive into this space. And I sometimes think about football as very much like American football in that it's a game of yards at times. So how many yards can this wide centre-back grab for us? And how many yards up the pitch can we get? Because all that's going to happen is these players are going to come here. The block might move across to us. But then as we've got in, and this is getting really messy now, apologies. But that tilt again just happens. So we tilt them to this side. We then come out this side and look to drive again with this centre-back. Move you out of the way slightly. But again, we're doing that from a higher position up the pitch. So our build-up play is just a tilt and switch, drive, tilt and switch, drive. And as we're doing that, we're gaining 20, 30 yards every single time. And maybe we haven't been able to play through the opposition, which we want to do, and get to a goal-scoring opportunity in 3-4 passes. If they're really solid compactly and we have got to build up patiently, that's the plan, is that we tilt, switch, drive, and then we get ourselves into the final third and hopefully get a goal scoring opportunity, take some risks at that point. What a 3-5-2 does give you as well is an advantage in a counter-attack and offensive transition. So if you can play forward quickly, because you've got two strikers, you've got two players to play into there, and you can get players around them quite quickly and hopefully counter-attack at pace as well. What you do need is a player that's comfortable with their back to goal and holding play up. and able to take the ball with a player on their back. So hopefully you've got a striker that's a 9 that likes to go in behind, and a 10 that likes to come and get the ball, but can play with a bit of physicality on their back as well, because that's going to help you in the counter-attack situations. In possession, we've done build-up play. So there's 3 options here for me in terms of build-up play with a 3-5-2. And this is personal preference to everybody. In terms of how I set up, I would want my centre-backs to... So I've got 2 wide centre-backs that split. I've got a central centre-back that's going to be on the edge of the area. My wing-backs are going to be in this zone here. And as Kevin again spoke about on the VIP call the other day, there's areas that you want to dominate. And the half-space areas here are areas that I want to dominate. And I've got my 2 pivot midfielders that can come and do that. Or they can move out, and my other midfielder can rotate into that in a fluid motion as well. I've got the option out with the wing backs nice and high, and then we have got these half space areas which are dominated as well by my pivot players and the 2 wide centre backs. So option A is, and it depends what the opposition are giving you, and always play what the opposition are giving you. So at the moment, the opposition have set up where they've decided to try and cover these wing backs. Okay. So in that sense, so option A is to, if the opposition are giving you that time and space, get the ball, drive out, tilt the opposition, and then recycle back out through the opposite centre back, and then drive to do the same again. Because we've got to be patient at that point, because the opposition have given you a solid block. They're not going to give you much. They want you to play in front of them. Okay, that's option A. Option B would be, if these players have decided to be more aggressive because they're trying to press us straight away, is that from this keeper position, we just go straight into one of the wing-back situations here. Now, they're going to be pressed quite quickly by a fullback, but we're looking for pivot support here to play maybe sideways once and then play forwards quite quickly if we can do. Okay, so straight into the wing-backs if the opposition are looking to press high and then not giving us that time and space. And then option C would be maybe they're in a position where they're half and half. They're not really giving us either option. Is that the goalkeeper, so one of the centre-backs would come and take the goal kick. They would play to the goalkeeper, so the ball is central and the ball's live at that point. And then we look for an opportunity to play into one of these areas, and the ball, either 1 touch or 2 touches, then going out to here. Okay, so our ambition is still to try and get out to the wing back, but we're playing through a central area, a half space area, whether that be this side or that side, and off 1 touch, they're going out to a wing back that can then drive forward and play forward. So 3 options to play. The 4th option would obviously be, if we're not comfortable, if we just want to get bodies up the box, up the pitch, the goalkeeper can go straight into the front 2 or front 3 here as we've got it, because we've got a semi-overload situation there against 2 centre-backs. So we might choose to mix it up and go long. If we're not having much success from playing out and we're getting caught, then we could go higher up the pitch and do that. But there's what we need to think about again with how we play out is there's core objectives at play. We want to play forwards. We're playing with the intent to play forwards and get up the pitch and get yards and get into a goal scoring opportunity. We're just choosing to play out from the back because we see that as our least riskiest option, and we think we're going to retain the ball by doing that. We're still looking to do it in 3-4-5 passes. We're not trying to hold on to the ball for 10 minutes. We're looking to get up the pitch in 3-4-5 passes. And when you think about it, if it's going straight into the wing back there and they can drive 2 or 3 passes later, we could be into the final third. If it's into this midfield player, 1 pass, 2 passes out to the wing back, 3 or 4 or 5 passes later, we could be again into the opposition final third. The slower option is going to be the tilt and drive and circulate. But again, we're always looking to play forwards over a sideways pass, and we're not ignoring a forward pass if we can hit it, and we're looking to get into the opposition's final third as quickly as possible. What that tilt and pass and circulate and drive, does do, if we're doing that, is give our wing backs the trigger to then go and get forward into that 3-2 shape. these players are going to naturally come up into that situation. We've got the 3, the 2, and then we are back into our in possession. You can't see it there, but when I first showed it, our in possession structure of 3, 2, 5 up top end of the pitch, and then we're looking to play a forward pass into one of those front players, either get them 1v1 or play a support pass to then run past their back line to make them think about depth and defending deep. So objective when playing out, play forwards, break lines and dominate the key areas of the half spaces in that pivot area as well. Good. All right. So that's build up play. Out of possession. So there's risks in transition with a back 3. Okay. The risky areas are here because with us playing high wing backs, if we do get caught in midfield, that ball's just going to go straight into that area. And then we've got a problem in terms of how we defend. The back 3, really, really important that the gaps in between this back 3 do not open up. Okay, they have to stay together no matter what. One player can't choose to come out and defend there while the other 2 decide to defend centrally, because all that's going to happen is an attacking player is going to get in that gap and we're going to be in serious trouble. So whatever decision this back 3 make, they have to make together and they have to move together. In terms of structure on how I like, because this is going to happen, I've accepted in my system that we're going to lose the ball because not everyone's technically proficient to keep the ball every single time. We're going to lose the ball through technical errors. That's probably going to happen in a central area because that's where all of our players are in this system. So we're going to lose the ball in a central area, and that ball is probably going to be popped into an area here. And what I want to then to see happen is my back 3 shift across, and then we've got 1 or 2 options. If this wing back is caught really, really high, I want this pivot player to come and create a back 4 here. And then this wing back's job is just a diagonal run to come and sit into that pivot role. And that's the fluidity of how I like my formations to play. I don't mind which position you end up in. I care about the zones that are being occupied for the situation the game is in. And if we're in danger here, because the ball has been popped into that area, my back 3 have come across, my pivot player has dropped in, and my wing back has tucked into that area. Preference would be that the pivot didn't have to do that, and my wing back player has reacted really, really quickly. They've got the time to come and do that. And my instruction to my back 3 is delay. If we're caught in a situation where we were 3-2-5, the ball has been played into our wide channels in transition because we've lost the ball, we're up against it. Defensive principle, delay that, slow the game down because I need one of these 2 players to come and cover that back post area because I want my back 3 to come across and shift across and cover together. We cannot separate. We cannot offer gaps up between our back 3. Someone has got to come and cover that space. For someone to be able to come and do that, I need you to delay that player there and slow the game down as much as possible to allow us to get our shape and occupy the zones that are important to me to be occupied. Okay. What this does is this allows this player to stay relatively high in terms of if that ball does come back to a supporting fullback, this wing back can press high and put pressure on the fullback. When the ball is switched back round, I'm expecting this wing back to come and do this job. When they've tilted us and switched against us, I want the back 3 to work really hard to do the similar action. Again, pivot player or wing back ideally to come into here. And we've just changed the side of the pitch that we're on to defend because we can't defend the whole pitch. We're defending ball side and we're defending goal side, and we're looking to be aggressive in the press when we can be. But by delaying the ball and forcing the opposition to think about it, we're going to get chances to win that ball back and have chances to step in. So hopefully that's clear in terms of how I like to set up in transition. I'm accepting that I'm going to lose the ball in central areas. I know that ball is probably going to be popped into a wide area because that's where the space is. In response to that, I want my centre backs to come out and cover that area, and I want a pivot midfielder or a wing back to come and fill the void, the non-ball side, to give us that back 4 structure. So when I spoke at the start of the call of fluidity in terms of formations, I'm not always a 3-5-2, a 4-4-2 actually in defence, probably 4-4-2 in defence, and a 3-2-5 in attack. So I'm never really a 3-5-2 actually. I'm a 3-2-5 in attack. I'm a 4-4-2 or depending on what zones need occupying and what stage of the pitch the ball is at. I'm certainly not a 3-5-2 at any stage of the game, apart from when we kick off. I'm very aggressive in a 3-2-5, and then a back four system of some regard when we are defending. What else to talk about? Yep, so that's out of possession. Some of the key things that I just want to chat through that we've spoken about today, and then we can see if we've got any questions that aren't technical based. So the key points to call out. So the three centre backs and the strengths, that we've got. The three centre backs are really tough to break down. So that's a strength. We're defending a central area. The goal is central. So we're really strong through the spine of the pitch. We've got midfield control. We can either do that through a midfield three or a box with our 10 dropping in. And we can always create an overload in the midfield. And we've got a really solid spine with a 3-5-2 as well. Okay, so we're really strong centrally. It's really important we pick the right players to play in those wing-back areas. I think what you'll see a lot of people do is want to play a 3-5-2, then I'll put a left back in the left wing-back position and then worry or wonder why he's not getting forward as much as he should be doing. He's sitting too deep, but that's just the natural instinct. Or we've put a left winger in that left wing-back position and wondering why they're not doing their defensive responsibilities. The wing-back position is its own position and has its own responsibilities and takes its own profile type. So make sure that you've got the right players in those positions or you'll get caught out. We've got really strong counter-attacking potential. Like I said, we've got the two strikers. We can play into those strikers in the transitions and get players forward really quickly. And the wing-backs give us lots of flexibility. So in terms of build-up play, and like you've seen, I like to push into a 3-2-5. That's flexible in attack because it gives us an overload in a man-for-man situation in the attack. And if we need to, we can drop into a back five, although I've got an allergic reaction to that. We can drop into a back four, as I tend to, or if you are a sadist, you could drop into a back five and do that. The key roles for me, wing back, which I've just spoken about, they have to have high cardio levels. They have to have quality in both ends of the pitch. It's really important to me that my wing backs are good in 1v1 situations, both defending and attacking. And that they've got the engine to get up and down and do that. So key aspects for me in a wing back: are you good 1v1 defensively? Are you good 1v1 in the final third? And have you got the energy levels and commitment and want to do that work? And they also tactically need to understand what zones I want you to occupy at the right times, okay, when we haven't got the ball. And in those key moments when we just lost the ball and you need to react in the next 3 seconds, because if you get caught out or the centre-backs get caught out, and let's just come back into here and say that it's got pushed into that zone and my centre-backs haven't got across quick enough here. If this player is allowed to get at my centre-backs and get his feet in the box, we're in real trouble then. Real trouble. Because we've got to commit at that point. We could choose to delay, but there's more players that can get in the box, and the box is a dangerous area. Okay. So, come back to the call. Weaknesses, wide areas are a weakness. So if we are sat back in a back five, fullbacks, the opposition fullbacks are going to have lots and lots of time on the ball. We either be patient in that or we pick and choose when we press. You could argue that the opposition fullback can't hurt us a great deal. So we might let them have the ball in those areas. But again, I never play in a back five, and I want my wing backs to have the flexibility to go and press that action with the centre backs behind them, with the opposite to ball side wing back tucked in or pivot player tucked in. The wide areas in transition, as we've just spoken about at length, there are really, really key areas. That's where you're going to get hurt in a back three system, is down the sides of your centre backs. And if one centre back steps out and another doesn't, and you get that gap between your centre backs, that's when you're going to be in real trouble as well. So those three centre backs need to stay really, really compact and really, really tight. Yeah, and that's everything in summary. So that's the 3-5-2. Hopefully that wasn't too painful for the audience watching that, because we did have some technical errors. So I apologise profusely. If we do have any questions, happy to answer them now. If you've got any questions, I'll just give you 2 seconds to let me know yes or no. happy to answer any questions. But hopefully you found that useful, and hopefully that you could take something from that despite the technical areas. But let me know, thumbs up or thumbs down if you've got any questions. If not, we can end the call there. Brilliant. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Like I said, that was the 352. It was my approach to the 352, which others might have a different opinion on. Love to hear your thoughts on that, if you do things any differently. But thanks for joining. Thanks for being patient during the technical errors, and let me know your thoughts on the information in there. But thank you, guys. Thank you.